I'm really excited to be here this morning. Here we go. Okay. We're going to be talking about how to magnetically attract your ideal clients to you. Happy Monday. I'm excited. Whenever Monday comes, it's always a fresh start for me. So I'm always really ready to rock out my week and get all my goals accomplished. I hope that's where you're at as well. So before we begin, I just want to welcome those of you who are new to our Facebook group. This is Money Marketing Monday with Nyala, where every week I come and I bring content to you to help you master your messaging, your marketing, so you can make more money. Okay. So today we're talking about how to magnetically attract your clients to you. How to magnetically attract your clients to you. All right. Now, there's this saying that many of you have probably heard before: if you build it, they will come. All right. And I want to give you an example of that. Okay. This morning I made breakfast. Now, since I decided not to do chemotherapy anymore and I've been home every day now, I've been like cooking 3 times a day and I've been enjoying it. And so this morning I made breakfast and I put it on the table. And every morning I do this and I call Asia to come downstairs and eat. But I want to give you an example of what if they build it, they will come really means in our layman terms, right? So I make breakfast, I put it on the table. I called Asia to come downstairs so she can eat. Let's say I did not call Asia. That breakfast would have been made, right? I took my time to make that breakfast. It would have been sitting on the table, but nothing would have happened with it. It wouldn't have been eaten, right? If I didn't call Asia to come downstairs. And it's that simple, right? You have to take action in what you're doing. You can't just build things and expect that people are going to come to you. While when you hear that quote, you think of inspiration. You think of, oh, if I take action, if I just put it out there, I'm going to get clients. While you may think that, that's not what really happens. And I see it all the time. I speak to coaches all the time who's focused on building the perfect website, who's focused on building the perfect, pictures, having the perfect brand look, right? While that's important, it is not all that you have to do. Right. And so today, what I'm focused on is telling you what you need to be paying attention to, what you need to put your focus on, what you need to do so that way you can attract clients to you and you're not out there just working and not seeing the results that you're looking for, which is happening to most people right now. OK, so number one, the first thing that I want to share with you is about branding. OK, making sure that you're focusing on establishing a brand. All right. And I looked at, and I wish I could remember the young lady name. You know how when you're scrolling on Facebook, now they have this feature where the live streams just start playing. Yesterday, I was scrolling on Facebook and I seen somebody live stream. For the life of me, I cannot remember who it was, but I caught a minute of it. And she was talking about how a lot of people are coming online and they don't know how to market themselves. So they're out there and they're pushing their products and they're pushing their services, but they haven't really established a brand yet, right? And so they start to beat themselves up because they're not getting the results and they think that they're doing something wrong. But what they really need to do is go back to the basics. That's what she said. They need to go back to the basics. I thought that was really, that was a good point that she made, is that you have to know what it means to build a business, right? You can't just say, well, I'm going to come up with a business name. I'm going to register my business and boom, now I have a business. Customers are going to come. That's not how it works, right? You, number one, have to establish a brand. And so I want to talk about that first. And what entails, what does having a brand really mean? All right. So number one, here are the 2 things that you want to focus on when you are thinking of building a brand. Number one, becoming known for your specialty. Now, if you don't know anything about me and this is your first time being in my group, your first time being on one of my trainings, I'm all about helping coaches create their signature, their unique message and their signature programs, right? And that all has to do with you deciding what your specialty is going to be and becoming known for that, okay? So like, for example, just using me, when I first came online, it was all about, well, I have this business experience. I'm going to just share my experience and teach people. And I used to call myself a budget-friendly coach. Go figure, right? I used to call myself a budget-friendly coach. I used to teach people how to grow their business on Instagram. Then I transitioned into being the queen of webinar marketing and teaching people how to use webinars to grow their business. But it was all about helping entrepreneurs, and I was finding my footing, okay? I was trying to find what I was really good at, like where I could really impact people. And now I finally found it. And I can tell you that once I found my specialty and I started to brand myself in my specialty, I was able to create more opportunities for myself, and I was able to make way more money. Okay. So I took a picture this morning, and I noticed that I took a picture of my journal and my Activate Your Confidence book that I write in every day. And I noticed that Grey's Anatomy was playing in the background. So I'm going to use Grey's Anatomy for an example, right? That's one of my favorite shows, FYI. And so let's think of a doctor, right? General doctors, people that work in emergency room, people that do general surgery, for example, they get paid their regular salary. But then we talk about anesthesiologists, right? We talk about, the brain doctors, right? We talk about my doctor, for example. My doctor is a specialist in leukemia, right? So she's just not an oncologist, but she specializes in leukemia, which is why I chose her, because that means that she has a broad amount of experience on a particular topic, a particular subject, which is, leukemia for me. For you, it may be, helping people grow in their relationships. For my business, it's helping people master their messaging and their marketing. For you, it may be helping people with, preventing getting diabetes, whatever it is. Like, let's use that for an example. Let's use that. That's coming to me now. Because a lot of people call themselves coaches, but what do you specialize in, right? When people think of your name, when people think of your business name, what is the first thing that comes to their mind? This is the question that you have to ask yourself. What am I going to specialize in? And how am I going to start to be seen as this specialist in front of my ideal clients? All right. So that's number one. Become known for your specialty. And don't worry, as we continue speaking, I'm going to give you ways that you can do that. Okay. So number one, you want to become known for your specialty. And then number two, you want to answer this question. How do people perceive you as a person? And see, this one is really, really important. Okay. Because where we are in this season and in this online climate, or let's just say business climate, people care more about the person that is behind this brand. Okay. People want to know who you are. People want to connect with you. And then once they connect with you, then they want to know more about how you can help them and the services that you provide. And so you have to think about, how do people perceive me? Because your brand is really what people think about you. It's not what you think. It's what people think about you and your company, right? And so when I think of myself, and when I think of myself, a lot of people say, well, Nyala is funny. Nyala is inspiring. Nyala is motivational. The one that I hear the most is Nyala is thorough, right? And I hear that all the time. It doesn't matter who works with me, who is in my Facebook group. I hear that all the time. Nyala is thorough. Nyala keeps it real, right? She's just no fluff. She just say what she say, right? That's what people think about me. And I'm okay with that, because that's truly who I am. So you need to know, what do you want people to think about you as a person, right? So let's do that. Let's recap one more time. Number one, you got to become known for your specialty. And then number two, you got to decide, how do you want people to perceive you when they think of your name and when they think of your brand? Here's why. When you are able to answer these questions, then when you go focusing on putting together a website or putting together a freebie or creating a content plan or whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to keep these things in mind, right? So let's say you're a fun and witty person. That's who you are, right? Then you're going to want, when people come to your website, that's what they feel. She got to be a fun and witty person. I remember I had a young lady, Jen Levitz. Shout out to Jen. Jen was in my summit in 2017, I want to say, either 17 or 18. I can't remember. It's been a while. And I loved her brand because it was all about fairy tales. She called herself like a fairy godmother. And then when you went to the site, you seen her photo shoot. She had the wings on. It was purple and sparkly. And she had the little the little wand in her hand, and all her branding was spells, right? So she was a marketing coach just like me, but every one of her marketing systems that she shared and that she taught her ideal clients or prospects, They said spellbound, right? And it just had all these different strategies and systems, but everything was like she was a fairy godmother. And to me, that's awesome. That is a way to take your personality, put it into your brand, and of course, that helps you become unique, right? Because that's what sets her apart from me. Another thing, I'll use me as an example. Last year, I decided to start my podcast, The Birthing Experience, which we're getting ready to start recording again. And I decided that I was going to shift my brand where I would be the master midwife for coaches, right? And I wanted to do this because, again, I was trying to find a way to keep myself or set myself apart from what everyone else was doing, right? And so I thought of, well, how do people perceive me? I started looking at different reviews that I get and testimonials and just talking to clients. And people always say that I have that attitude that just pushes them to do more, right? It just pushes me to do more. As a matter of fact, I spoke at a conference where a few of the ladies said, listen, when I was in that room, I felt like I was giving birth. Okay. She helped me birth my idea. She helped me birth my coaching practice. And it just was perfect for me. It was perfect for me. And I decided to brand it. I went to my local hospital. I ordered a doctor coat and all of that. And I took pictures and I decided to brand it and make it me. And this is what I mean when I say you want to think about how do people perceive you? And then you want to see how can I instill this in my brand? Because this is what's going to make me different. This is what's going to help me stand out. And the more I stand out is the more that I will stand out and stay up front in my ideal client's mind. And that's what you really want. Okay. So now here are the 3 parts of a brand that I believe is very important. We've discussed some of this already, but I want you to write this down. Number 1, your brand message. If you guys are here, somebody write that below, your brand message. Okay. And I see that some of you are here, so definitely say hello. Okay. So the first thing is your brand message. And that just pretty much says who you are, who do you help? Why you help them? Why should they care? When somebody, I have this, I speak to coaches so much. And the biggest thing that bothers me with coaches, and I have to say this because if I don't, I would not be myself right now, is how focused they are on getting a website done that nobody's going to. How focused they are on, putting the words on the website that no one is visiting to and visiting. Instead of thinking about, what's that message? Because truth be told, you can literally only have a 1-pager. You can have just your social media profile. And as long as the messages that's being put out there, it resonates with your ideal clients, you are going to see the clients coming to you, right? A website is really not that important. However, that's what coaches focus on so much because that's what's out there in the industry. Like you have to have this and you really don't. And that's another example. Now I'm going off on a tangent, but that's another example of if they build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come. No. How many of you have websites and then when you go and you check your viewers, you have like less than 100 people going to your site every month? Really think about that. Really think about that. So what you really should be focused on is 1, what's my message? And am I bringing that across clearly, in my content? And we're going to talk about content next, right? So that's the first thing is your brand message. Who do you serve? Why do you serve them? What do you help them do? And how do you help them? Those are the answers. Those are the questions that you need to answer. Okay. That's number 1. Number 2 is your brand look. This is something else that I need to talk about. Because you can expect to have a $2,500 and up program. You want people to pay you that. But every time you get on video, your video is all blurry, or you're not finding a clean area in your home for you to do a video or wherever. Back in the days, I used to do it in my car. You know what I mean? Because that was where I could do it better than my home. You understand? So you have to think about your brand look. Does it match what you're trying to sell people? And this is something that I don't like to talk about. I have to be transparent with you guys. I don't like to talk about it because I feel like a lot of coaches keep them stuck. And I don't ever want to be the person that keeps you stuck because of something I said. Okay. When I first started, that's what happened to me. I listened to a lot of leaders who made you feel like if you didn't have testimonials, you don't need to be out here teaching nobody. And that was just a load of nonsense. I don't want to be that coach to do that to you. However, I still got to be honest and tell you that if you want to be able to attract more high-end clients, you got to look like it. You know, don't fake the funk now, but you got to look like something. Take some pride into your brand look, right? That's the second thing. So brand message, brand look, and number 3, your brand feel. So we spoke about this already. How do people feel when they interact with your brand, right? And those are the 3 places that I want you to focus on when it comes to establishing a brand online. There's a lot more that I can tell you, but right now this is going to be the most important for you, okay? Hey, Pamela, what's up, girlfriend? All right. Now, here's the second thing that I want to talk about. So 1 is establishing your brand. Number 2 is creating content that converts. This is another thing. So many people are focused on how I'm going to get clients, but then when you go to your page, I can't even tell that you're a business owner. I'm scrolling down and all I'm seeing is a whole bunch of family photos and, you know, you just sharing your feelings. Like this is their psychiatrist. Facebook is your psychiatrist, you know. You can't even tell that you're a business owner. I can't even tell what you do. This is really important here, guys, right? And so how do you start to put yourself out there? The content that you share. What is your content supposed to be about? The problems that your ideal clients have. I want you to think of your content as helping your ideal clients. Right? So let me give you an action step right now. For those of you who are struggling with attracting your ideal clients, I want you to write this down right now. I want you to write down 3 things that your ideal client is struggling with. If you're a health coach, maybe they're struggling with getting rid of belly fat. Maybe they're struggling with not knowing how to grocery shop. That's one. That's something I struggled with in the beginning, like knowing what to buy when I wanted to start my health journey, right? So maybe those are some of the things they're struggling with. If you're a finance coach, maybe they're struggling with budgeting. Maybe they're struggling with their financial statements. Okay. I don't know what kind of coach you are, but I want you to write down the three things that you know your ideal clients are struggling with. That's number 1. Then I want you to ask yourself, what's best for me? Like what vehicle is best for me to share my content? Here's what I mean by that. I seen a lady, Deborah. Hey, Deborah. She's one of our members of this group. And yesterday she was saying that she doesn't like to write. Okay. And I gave her this idea that she can dictate her emails because we're talking about sending out emails. Okay. Maybe you're someone who don't like to write. Okay. So you may be better for sharing video content, or you may be better for sharing audio content. Maybe you are someone who likes to write. You may be the person who needs to blog. Okay. Whatever it is, I want you to ask yourself, what am I comfortable doing? Okay. Here's why I'm saying this. So many coaches find themselves stuck because they're trying to do what everybody else is doing. I'm going to say that again, right? So many coaches find themselves stuck because they're trying to do what other people are doing instead of doing what is good for them. You teach your audience how to interact with you. Okay. I know you've heard different. I know you've heard that, you know, maybe if your audience likes if your audience likes writing, then you need to get out there and write. No. Okay. Because if you're not a writer, then you're not going to reach them anyway. Okay. So you need to first know what am I good at doing? And this is how I'm going to share my content. And then you're going to attract people who likes content the way you share content. Does that make sense? Just give me a 1 below if that makes sense, because this is one of the points that I really wanted to make sure I drove home for you today, because I want to free some of you who's feeling like I have to live stream every day and you know you don't really want to. You don't have to. What you have to do is find what you're good at doing. Start sharing your content and answering those questions. Remember those 3 problems that your ideal clients have. Start giving them help for those problems the way you do it. And what's going to happen is you're going to start attracting people who likes to learn that way. That's what I did, and it worked for me. Okay, I'm not a writer, so I stopped my blog. In the beginning, I used to kill myself to blog. I used to kill myself to blog, and I cannot stand writing. But everyone said you had to have a blog. So that's what I focused on doing. And it did nothing for me but frustrate me and not make any money. Never did I get any views. I used to get like 11 views a month on my website, on this blog that I spent so much time writing, right? So I really, really want to make sure you guys are listening to me when it comes to that, okay? All right, so what did I share with you? So make sure that you write down those problems, and then make sure that in your head, you're knowing that how I share content is by answering those problems, by helping people with those problems, by sharing content with those problems. That is how you start to establish your authority. That is how people are going to start, what we talked about just now, start to see you as that specialist, right? Because you are providing content in this specific area for these specific people. And that is how you're going to start to really position yourself. Here's the second thing that I want to share with you. And this is good. Okay. So there are two types of content that you as a coach want to be sharing, no matter what type of coach you are. Okay. Number one is teaching. Number two is preaching. Write that down. Number one is teaching. Number two is preaching. All right. And so we're going to talk about money in a minute, because yes, you still want to make money here, but you can't expect to make money if you have not proven yourself to people. And how do you prove yourself to people is by helping them solve problems. And how do you help them solve problems? In the content that you share. Make sense? Okay. So teaching is what I'm doing right now. This is what I'm doing. I'm teaching you something. Preaching is all about motivation and inspiration. So you come, you share stories, and you share lessons for your ideal clients in these stories, like what we spoke about before when I first got started today. And this is the reason why I asked you guys, do you want me to show you how to take your daily stories, like even as simple as drinking some water here, and how you could take something as simple as drinking water and turn it into content that converts? If you want me to show you how to do that, if you guys may have been late, I want you to write story selling below, because I want to do a challenge where next month, and I don't know what the topic should be yet, and I'm really thinking on making the topic that, because it's really important that you learn how to create content that converts. And for me, it's teaching or preaching, right? It's teaching what people don't know, and it's inspiring them and motivating them to take action. Because one of the things that I've learned on my journey is if people don't believe in themselves, they could listen to you all day and they still won't take action. And so there needs to be some motivation and inspiration there as a leader. Okay. If you're only about making money, no power, more power to you. But if you're about impacting lives, then it just can't be teaching. You have to motivate and inspire your audience as well. And the easiest way to do that is through stories. All right. Okay. So let's move on. The third thing. So number one is establish your brand. Number two, create content that converts. And then number three, I'm going to focus on establishing credibility, and the fastest way that you can do that right now. Okay. So the fastest way you could do that is by creating monthly events. I call this traffic jams. All right. So when I teach my clients, I teach them how to create traffic jams every month that is going to solve problems for their ideal clients, but it's also going to help them get a rush of new audience members, new leads. And that's what you want. Okay. How do you do that? Right? How can you start getting more people into your audience? Because that's what you really want. All right. The easiest way to do that right now is by tapping into other people's audiences. So I am writing a book to share my story and my journey that I'm on right now. And I spoke to my PR person this week. And one of the things that we're doing is she's pitching me to different podcasts. She pitched me to Dr. Oz. She pitched me to Black Enterprise. So I have a lot of things in the works, right? And this is all to share my story. And the reason why is because that is going to help me establish my credibility. So that way, when my book comes out, people will want to buy my book because I've established my credibility in this particular area, right? And while this is about my personal story, I still have to be credible, else no one is going to buy my book. Right? And I just want you to think about this. Again, a lot of us don't like to keep it real, but people buy from people who are known. There are different reasons why people buy, to keep up with the Jones, what else? Fear of missing out, because they want to be like, they want to be in the in crowd, and these are things that push people to buy. Right. And so if you've seen somebody who wrote a book about their leukemia journey and it's just a book on Amazon, but then you see somebody else who has written a book about their leukemia journey, but they've been featured on Black Enterprise, they've been a guest on Dr. Oz, they've been on all these different podcasts speaking about their system, which book are you going to buy? If God forbid you were to be diagnosed with leukemia, which I do not wish on anyone, which book are you going to buy? You'll probably buy the one who's been featured everywhere, because in your head, psychologically, and don't get me wrong, the other one might be better. But in your head, you think this one is better because it's been featured places. Come on, just give me a yes below if you understand what I'm saying, because this is how we think, right? And because this is how their brain is made up, you as a business owner have to keep that in mind when you are out there establishing your brand. You have to think about your credibility. Okay, so how could someone like you, let's say you're now starting out, or let's say you're not even starting out, but you're looking to rev this whole thing up. You've been in feast and famine too long and you want more clients. You want to work with more of your dream clients. How could you do this now? Well, you yourself can start getting on other podcasts. Right now, the world is virtual. The world is virtual. And I'm going to give it, and a lot of people say, tell them the what, tell them the why, sell them the how. No, I give you the how too. Here's why I give you the how. Because if you ever decide to be a client of mine, you're not coming for teaching, you're coming for implementation and my guidance so you can implement. So I have no problem giving you the how. Right now, if you want to start establishing your credibility in your marketplace and you want to be known for your specialty, then what you need to do starting today, you need to go on Fiverr. Somebody write that below for me. Fiverr, Fiverr. You need to go on Fiverr and you need to look for someone that you could pay $5 or $10 and ask them to put together a spreadsheet of podcasts in your niche. If you're in the health niche, tell them you want 100 podcasts in the health niche. Tell them you want 20, because some of you are going to say 100. So tell them you want 20. If you're in the business niche, tell them you want 20, a list of 20 podcasts in the business niche. You could pay somebody $5 to do that for you. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to start going on those podcasts, subscribe to their list, follow the podcast host on social media, and start to engage with their page over the next few weeks, okay? While you're engaging with their pages, I want you to listen to their podcasts, a few of them that has topics that interest you. And within the next 2 to 3 weeks, I want you to email that host and ask to be on their podcast. Now, there's a way that you can do that. I didn't even think of this, but if I remember, I might not remember. If I don't, someone can send me a DM and remind me. If I remember, I will give you, I have this freebie that I created that has all my pitches that I send out to people. It's absolutely free. I call it Powerful Pitches. It's pitches that help you create powerful partnerships. That's what it's about. And so what I want you to do is remind me, and I'll put that link in the group so you guys can get that. But all you got to do is put a pitch together. Hey, Nyala, I listened to your Birthing Experience podcast, and one of the shows that I heard really spoke to me, and I just thought about how I can serve. However you write that, you could use my pitch template, and you send that email out to those 20 people. I guarantee you that you'll get at least one. You'll get at least one person to respond back to you. And I'm being like the least. You'll get more than one. Okay? That is your action step to start getting on people's podcasts now. But here's the thing. Don't go on nobody's podcast if you're not clear with what? Your brand message. You don't know what you're specializing in. You have no invitation for them, whether to join a group or download something, whatever it is. Don't do it yet, because you have to go back to the basics if you don't have those things. Remember, we spoke about that in the beginning. If you're late, make sure you go and watch this replay, right? So you want to make sure that if you get on somebody's podcast, you have your steps what you teach, what you specialize in, your little story that you can share, because those are the things that magnetically attracts clients to you. I have a client, a former client, and she was a boutique owner. And when I met her at a live event, and she's one of my favorite stories to share, because a lot of people think that if they niche down, they won't be able to attract people. And this story, I love it. And so I went to speak at this event. She was a boutique owner. And from listening to my story and listening to my system of how I help people take their story and skills and turn it into a signature system, at the end of that event, she was in tears. She's like, man, God spoke to me. And last night, because it was either a 2-day or 3-day event. And she said, God spoke to me last night and I had a dream and I was working with you. And when I started this, I thought that I was going to just be selling clothes. But I know that there's more in me. I know that I have a story and I want to teach people, how to really love themselves. I want to teach women how to love themselves. So I want my clothes to be the product, but I also want to create a program where I can coach women who needs more and who needs to be beautiful. She called it Beautifully You. And she became a client. And we worked together. We got her signature program together. Then she went off and she worked with one of my colleagues for the PR side. And now she's featured in a magazine where she's sharing her clothes. She's sharing her stuff. She didn't close down her boutique, but she was able to set up another stream of income where she can impact people in a different way. And she never even thought of being a coach. But you see why that worked? It worked because I had the story. I had the system, the clear message. You need these things. So if you don't have these things, then don't do the podcast stuff yet. Go back to the basics and work on what we spoke about 1 and 2, and then you go to people's podcasts, right? Because if you go and you pitch someone's podcast and they come back to your page, they're going to want to see that you say who you are. And if they go to your pages, no matter what platform you're on, and they can't see what you specialize in and the content and all of that, then they're not going to ask you to be on their podcast. So you see how this all works, guys. You got to get serious. Thursday is October 1st. My birthday is Friday, by the way, for those of you who want to know. But Thursday is October 1st. That is the first day in the last quarter. And while this year has been such a, crazy year, and so many unexpected things have happened this year, you still have time. You still have time to reach your goals. You just have to get serious about it and make sure you're focused on the right things. What are those things? Establishing a brand, so that way people can know who you are, right? Number 2, creating content that helps your clients. Number 3, establishing credibility. All of these are the 3 things that I want you to focus on for the rest of the year. Okay. Now, when it comes to making money, it's going to magnetically come. Because if I go out there, for example, using that health example that I gave you, belly fat, right? A lot of women, we don't like the belly fat, right? And so if you specialize in that and all your content is sharing, foods that you can eat, what kind of foods to shop, here's some recipes that will help you, let's do a challenge. I'm going to help you lose 30 pounds in the next, 30 days or whatever, right? If that's what people are seeing when they come to your page, what you think is going to happen? I'm going to see that and I'll be like, man, I need to lose this belly fat. And maybe I don't got time to be in a challenge. So I'm going to inbox you and be like, Sandy, I see that you have a challenge coming up and you specialize in helping people with belly fat. Do you have a program that may be able to help me one-on-one? I feel like I need one-on-one help. If you're a personal trainer, I feel like I need a personal trainer. This is what happens. Now, hear me out. Am I saying that you never give a call to action and you never give an offer and you just wait for people to come up in your inbox? No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that if you focus on these 3 things, you are now positioning your brand so you can magnetically attract the right people to you. A lot of people say, I don't attract the right people. I'm getting on the phone with people who's not my ideal clients. I'm keep hearing objections. It's because you're not focusing on these 3 things. Is that making sense for you guys? Okay, hold on. Hey, Crystal. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Pamela says, can the podcast also lead to paid speaking engagements? Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's different ways. So number one, if you have a podcast, you're being promoted on that person's audience. Number two, when you do a podcast interview, if you are looking to grow a real business, then you shouldn't just be doing a podcast and say deuces. You should be creating a relationship with that podcast host. Because guess what? A lot of people who do podcasts also do events. Or they are attached to someone who may be doing events. So when you create a relationship with that podcast host, whether it's them or whether they know people that do, you could do a simple, hey, Sandy, thanks for having me in the podcast. Just want to remind you that I do speak on these subjects as well. So if you're having an event or you know anyone that has one coming up, I would love for you to think about me and I'll do the same for you. So what did I say? Number one, they're sharing it on their audience. Number two, you're creating a relationship. Number three, you take that same podcast and it becomes a part of number two, which was content that converts. Another mistake that people make, they go on podcasts. Okay, I just told my clients about this the other day. You get a podcast and the only time you share the interview is right after you do the podcast and then nobody sees it again. You should be sharing that interview all the time. It should go in your scheduler and it should be going out all the time. All the time. And you should be continuing to put that in front of your audience. Why? Because that's establishing credibility. And yes, it's going to help you get more speaking engagements because it's proof. It's proof. When people want to hire you to speak, they're thinking of your reel. They want to see places that you've spoken before. And now that live events are starting, virtual events are starting to take over live events. And I hope not forever because I miss live. I cannot lie to you. I miss hugging people. I miss seeing people in person. I miss getting dressed and showing off my shoes. So I hope that we hurry up and do some live events. But as you can see, virtual is starting to take over. And because of that, people are going to be wanting to see your YouTube videos. People are going to want to see your live streams. People want to see how you interact. People want to see the heat that you come with. Right? And so that's how you start to get more speaking engagements because it's out there. And even if you're pitching yourself, because you could pitch yourself to podcasts just like you could pitch yourself to events. You could look hashtag virtual event right now, hashtag virtual summit right now in your niche. And you can find events that are happening now or that are going to happen in the near future. And you can start pitching them. But when you pitch them, please understand that they're going to go and research you. And if your content is not speaking to what you say you specialize in, they're not going to hire you. They will hire the next person. Okay. And so these are the things that you need to think about, right? Pamela says, also send it to event hosts, maybe TEDx. Exactly. Word, my shoes. Yes, honey. My shoe game is sick. Okay. And so there are two things that's bothering me right now. Number one, I have neuropathy. So since I started chemo, I have something called neuropathy, which is burning and tingling under your feet and in the palms of your hands. My hands are getting better. And so I can't wear heels right now. That pisses me off. And then number two, not getting to go to no live events and show off my beautiful shoes, man. But anyway, okay. I got to leave you guys. So let's recap really quick. And then I'm going to head on out. I'm going to pull our winner and then I'm going to head on out. So today we spoke about how to magnetically attract your ideal clients to your brand. Number one, you got to establish a brand. Got to have one. And just coming up with a business name and creating a Facebook page is not a brand. How do you do that? Number one, becoming known for your specialty. Number two, deciding how do you want people to perceive you? Because however you want them to perceive you, you need to instill that into your brand. Okay. How do you become known for your specialty? How do you start to attract those ideal clients? By number two, creating content that converts. What type of content do you want to focus on? Content that teaches and content that preaches. What is the difference? Teaching is all about answering questions, solving those problems that your ideal client has, right? So for me, I'm helping you master your marketing and master your messaging, right? So I know that that's what I do with my clients, and I do way more than that. Don't forget, it's thorough. They say I'm thorough, right? So I do way more than that, but that's my specialty, messaging and marketing, right? And so, well, it's really messaging and creating messaging that boosts your marketing, right? And so that's my specialty. What kind of questions do people have about maybe how to put together their message? That's why I created the Master Your Message workbook, right? Maybe, you know, how to create content that converts. That's why we're talking about that today, right? How to create a brand message. You heard me mention that today. These are some of the things that my ideal clients would be asking themselves. And so I'm going to start creating content to answer those questions. Preaching is all about the motivation and the inspiration. How are you motivating people to take action on what you teach them? Or are you just showing up to teach? Make sense? Okay. And then number 3 was establishing credibility. And I gave you one easy way that you could start to establish that credibility right now. So guys, if you came late, definitely watch this over. Let me know if you found this valuable. Let me know below whether you're live or whether you're on the replay. Let me know below. Did you find this useful? What was your aha moment? What are you going to go and take action on right now? Okay, that's what I want you to let me know below. Okay. All right. So before I go, I want to pull my winner. So again, we're going to be doing this every month. In the beginning of the month, Kelly is going to put out our top contributors so you know who you are. And then at the end of the month, I'm going to go ahead and pull a person that's going to win a prize. Whether it's money, today it's going to be a $25 Amazon gift card. Maybe next time it's going to be $100. Maybe it's going to be a webcam. Maybe it's going to be a mic. Maybe it's going to be whatever. I just want you to engage and I want you to stay locked in to this group. All right. And I'm going to reward you for doing that. So let's get ready. So I'm going to mix this up really well. And then we're going to pick one person who's going to win. So our winner for today is May Hines. Somebody tag her below for me. May Hines, you are the winner. So all you got to do is DM me. All right. DM me and Kelly is going to go ahead and reach out to you, get your address and everything. Matter of fact, I think we can do an online gift card instead of mailing something out. So that way you can actually use it today for today if you want. All right. So what are some things that you could buy with a $25 gift card? You can buy a stand for your live streams. If that's something that you're doing. I have one that I carry with me when I travel with me, wherever I go. When I'm at the doctor's office, I can put it up. I can do my live streams with it. I can do my pictures with it. That's something you could buy. There's so many things that you could buy. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to I'm going to buy that for you today. And Kelly will send that over for you. Okay, May? So congratulations. Thank you for being a part of this group. Thank you for engaging. And I hope that you are the next winner for those of you who are listening to me right now. Okay. All right, guys. So thank you for joining me for Money Marketing Monday with Nyala. I will see you next week again. If you guys have any questions or anything with the content that I shared today, please leave it below. And do not forget that I really want to help you be able to create content that converts. So if you want our next challenge to be all about that, all you have to do is write below story selling, and we are going to go ahead and get that done for you guys. Okay. Thanks again. I'll see you guys soon.